Imagine waking up to a small financial problem that should be simple to solve. Perhaps a car repair, a medical bill, or a broken appliance. Something that costs a few $100s and appears minor on the surface. For someone with a financial buffer, the situation is inconvenient but manageable. The payment is made, life continues, and the event disappears from memory within days. But for someone living without spare liquidity, the same event quietly begins a chain reaction. The repair cannot be paid immediately. Bill sits for a while. Perhaps a credit card is used. Maybe a late fee appears. Interest begins to accumulate, and a small disruption slowly expands into something heavier than the original expense. This pattern reveals a quiet truth about modern financial systems. Lacking money does not simply limit options. It mathematically increases the cost of living. Economists sometimes describe this as a structural penalty attached to low liquidity. When a person has little financial margin, everyday transactions start to carry additional friction. Small purchases may require short-term credit, which introduces interest. Bills may occasionally be delayed, which introduces fees. Transportation might rely on older equipment that breaks more frequently, creating repeated repair costs. Even routine banking can involve overdraft charges or minimum balance penalties. None of these costs appear dramatic individually, yet together they form a steady background tax on people who can least afford it. The psychological layer deepens the effect. When money is consistently tight, the brain shifts into a short-term optimization mode, where attention focuses on the next bill, the next payment, the next immediate problem. Behavioral economists call this scarcity mindset, a cognitive pattern where limited resources narrow mental bandwidth. Under these conditions, decisions that might reduce long-term cost, such as preventative maintenance, bulk purchasing, or strategic investing, become harder to execute because they require surplus attention and spare capital at the same time. The mathematics behind this dynamic is subtle but powerful. Consider two people facing the same $500 expense. One person pays immediately with existing cash, ending the event at exactly $500. The other person finances it through a credit line at 20% interest and repays it gradually over time. By the time interest accumulates and payments stretch across months, the same $500 event might cost $600 or $650. Now repeat that pattern several times per year across repairs, short-term borrowing, and late fees, and the total cost of ordinary life quietly rises. Zooming out, this reveals something about the architecture of economic systems. Financial stability is not only about income levels, it is also about friction. People with liquidity experience smoother transactions, while those without it encounter more financial resistance in everyday life. Over years, the difference in friction compounds into very different financial trajectories, even if incomes are not dramatically different. Understanding this pattern shifts the conversation away from individual mistakes and toward systemic mechanics. The real insight is that small buffers dramatically change how money behaves. A modest emergency fund does not just cover expenses. It reduces the number of situations where financial friction can appear in the first place. Over time, that reduction in friction quietly protects both money and mental bandwidth, allowing decisions to be made with slightly more patience and perspective.